Okay, guys, welcome back to the part two of creating your first game level. In this part, we're going to talk about BSP brushes, and what we're going to do in this tutorial is we're going to create the level, and we're just going to make the walls and the floor and the ceiling, just basically the basic parts that will create like the volume of our level, and we're going from there. Before doing anything, I would like to open the UDK's template map and just gonna have a look around and let's do this. So here we go back where we left off, and I'm just gonna go open and go to maps. I'm gonna go ahead into you can find lots of maps here you can have a look at. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to examples, and we're gonna take example map here. Just open it. And this is the garage that Epic made for us that you can have a look at, and it's pretty much a basic level, and this is what we're going to try to recreate. Um, Contains lots of complicated things which you can think, but it's really quite simple. Here you can change the view modes like wireframe, lit, non-lit. It's gonna help sometimes. Mostly I use lit, non-lit. Here you can use no textures, just the grayscale. Here you can turn off normal maps as well. If you don't know what normal maps is something we're gonna cover in future. Texture density, stuff like that. It's more complicated stuff that you will be using in future, but for now, just gonna stick to lit and non-lit version, and sometimes wireframe as well. So here you see I'm clicking on the walls. You can just click on them, and these are BSP brushes that we've been talking about in the part one. And yeah, so they contain most of the level. Most, most of the level will be your BSP. They will create the volume, they will create the floors, the ceiling, and stuff like that. And here's our BSP brush right there, so we can bring it in and build another little cube here or something. Let's build something and just click build. Yeah, you wouldn't want to change anything in this particular map because the lighting is baked. We're gonna do that as well. So once you bake the lighting, you do not want to change anything. So if I'll move the light here, you'll see everything goes dark because the lighting is disappeared pretty much. We're gonna cover that in this tutorial. So let's just reopen it. And let's just have a look around, what you have here. These are some static meshes. We've been talking about static meshes in our on our previous channel, if you remember. What static meshes are, just like meshes that you will make in 3ds Max and bring it in. And if you notice, everything is modular. What modular is everything is little made out of little bits like Legos. And you put them all together into something big. Hey, we got some AI, some bot. Um, so what we can do, we can click play here and just play this level. And everything that's in this level we'll be gonna cover in this tutorial and in future tutorials as well. So you can walk around, you have your Unreal gun. So this is pretty much like a Unreal demo level sort of thing. So here's some trigger here, it triggers something like that just tells us about action script in this level. Nothing interesting. You have a car here you can enter and ride around. This door is unfunctional, so you won't be able to go through this. You can shoot. You can't go here because we'll be talking about that as well. This is the level boundaries. You cannot go beyond the level boundaries. We're gonna sort out how to set it up so you don't want player to go somewhere you don't want him to go, sort of thing. So if we go to the door, you notice it opens. This is something we're gonna cover in future tutorials. Is something we call matinee, which will be animating all these like animations like elevators, doors, and stuff like that. We got some physics here on these barrels. This is something we're going to talk about as well in future tutorials. Physics is, something that most of the games use. So here I'm just going to put a bomb here. You know, Again, something we can talk about in future tutorials. And as I enter here, the cinematic starts. Another thing is about UDK is that you can create awesome in-game cinematics, and we got our boss, and we're gonna just kill him. Here we go. He's pretty easy. So yeah, so that's the level. And if we go here, you'll notice these are decals. We're gonna speak about those, but those apple ones, these are the AI path. So basically, those tell the computer where can your enemies go. Because you want them to follow some sort of strategies or something like that. So you want him to go to the cover or something like that. In this particular level, he just runs around, so pretty much everywhere is a path. You also can set up the boundaries where he should not go. You got a camera here, for your cinematic, uh, all the basic stuff. Yeah, so this is what we're going to build. So let's go ahead and do it. Alright guys, so let's just go ahead and create new scene, blank map, and yeah, so this is the blank map. What we're gonna want to do now is right click on this cube here and just set up the size for the BSP brush. We're making a floor now, so it will be relatively big. You want to keep it in power of 2, so let's make it 124 by 124 by 124. And another thing you can do is, say we want it a bit smaller, we can just go ahead and select the brush, click this little cube here, and then just Control Shift drag to select the top vertices and just move them down a bit. This is the modifier tool, which you can modify BSPs with. Let's just build that. And yeah, so here we got our floor. The first thing I want to do is really to compare the size. So to do that, I want to just bring in the car from the garage that the Epic had and just see if it's big enough to fit the whole scene. So let's just go to vehicles here, active classes vehicles. This is the content browser, um, and just move the car where it was relatively in the other scene. We're gonna speak a bit more about content browser in a minute. So yeah, so as you can see, the floor is a bit too small. So let's just go ahead and make it a bit bigger. So let's just build that, close, and then just subtract. And so we got rid of our old floor, and let's just go ahead and make it twice bigger. So let's just put this to 20 because we don't want it too high. And let's just go ahead and put the X and Y values to 248 by 248. And that's it. Just close that and click. Yeah, you can move it around, but it's quite uncomfortable when you don't have anything to relate to. So just move the car up, and here we go. Now it seems to be the right size. Perhaps it's a bit too big, maybe, but it will work out. So yeah, let's just open the content browser now, and go ahead and type M, and then you can find uh, in any game or any game engine, everything should follow the naming conventions. So to find a material, you want to type M. So what materials are is pretty much like combined textures into shaders. You probably know them as shaders. But what we want to find is a good floor material that was used in UDK. So I think this one here. You can just copy the naming conventions that I type in. Just turn on HD so you can see a bit better. Yeah, so I think this was the floor that was in the original garage. Actually, not really, because it has some stripes in here. So let's just go ahead and find the right one. And let's just go ahead and find the right one. I believe it's this one, M neck walls BSP concrete one. Here we go. Yeah, that's the right floor. Okay, so here we got our floor. As you can see, this is the UDK scene. I have it opened as well, just for the reference. It's always a good thing to have a reference when you work because it's going to be incredibly hard. So if you click F5 here, you can just change the tiling. Just select the BSP and just click F5, and then you can where it says simple here, just change the numbers, and you can just get the right size for the texture. I think 2 is fine. Um, yeah, definitely. So let's move car a little bit. Let's try 4, see if that would be better. Select it, click 4. Yeah, as you can see, you can change to any kind of sign. It just basically changes the tiling, but let's keep it to 2. 2 I think is quite good. Yeah, definitely. See, you can try to imagine yourself on the ground level. Just see, you want when you tiling things, you want to make sure that it's not noticeable that it's tiling, and you want to make sure that it's also not too big that you will see the pixelation on it. So let's just take BSP brush again and just move it up. Let's create those little sewer grids on the floor. So let's just make it roughly the right size. I believe that's the right size here. Just build first. You have to make sure you always build before you do anything. Otherwise it will crash your system. So before you subtract, you always have to build. So let's subtract that because basically until you until you build the BSP brush, it does not actually exist. What it does, it actually saves up the little information to your computer that it's there until you build. It's basically a preview. So yeah, before you want to try building BSPs as many times as you possibly can, and before subtracting, you definitely want to build. So here I'm just gonna try to match the size. If you click this button here, I mean, no, that's not the right one. Sorry. Click this button here, and then you can just see, like in 3ds Max, you can have four different views: top, side view, and so on. So you can just match it up a little bit and then just move it right up here. And here we go. Just subtract that and just move it here. It's always easier from the top view because you can actually see it in the proper perspective. So just click this button, or you can just click Alt X, which is much easier and faster. So here we got our floor grids. We're gonna put the grids later on. For now, we just want to stick to making the BSPs. You cannot make the, well, you can technically make a grid of BSP, but it's it's not necessary because we have the grid static mesh, which we will introduce later on. Okay, so let's just scale it, and let's just turn it back into our cube. Just change the size here. Right click and change this to something like, let's see. Want to make sure that it's going to be a wall. So a human height is something like 80 to 90. So let's try twice the human height and just put this to 20 and this to yeah, 20. This one will be a bit more. This 2048. So let's keep it to the floor size. And just let's move this BSP brush. It's a bit hard with BSP brushes because you can see them the through anything, so you can never tell where they actually are. And for that reason, we're gonna go into the side views and just try to line it up where it's supposed to be. So it's around here, I would say. So top view here, just move it a little bit around. Yeah, so I think that's perfect. And let's try to build that. Actually, if you noticed, it's a bit too small. So let's just take the geometry tool. Just select these, Control and Shift, and drag. Control Shift Alt drag to select multiple ones. So Control Shift Alt drag. Oops. Yeah, Control Shift Alt drag, and then just move it up about this level, I would say. Perhaps a bit higher. We're gonna have windows there as well, so it's not the actual height. It's gonna be much higher in the end. So yeah, you always want to make sure that you try to reference like the human height to everything. So when you will be playing, you want to make sure that everything is relevant to the player, and it's much harder to change the player size than the everything else size. So you just want to keep it down there. So let's just find the wall material. So let's just go M underscore HU underscore wall, and here it is. SM wall flat wall. And here we go. This is our wall. As you can see, it's a bit tiling too much, so let's go ahead and just click on it. Click F5, and just play around with the sizes here a little bit. So let's try 1. See if that works. Let's try 0.5. Some glitch here. Let's see what's wrong. Select something else. Go ahead and click. Yep, works now. So let's go ahead 2. Yeah, 2 I think is close enough. Let's try 4. See if that's gonna be any better. It's a bit too big. Yeah, 2 is I think gonna be fine. You can always set up a custom one. Yeah, so here you can move your texture, but so let's just move it on the V a little bit down so it makes more sense. Perhaps something like yeah, it's a bit too small. Let's try 4, see if that works better. That's a bit too big. It's always really hard with these, but let's just leave it to this. So let's just build that. Delete that. Let's just let's delete that and just make it a bit taller. Because it seems that 4 is the right size, but it's not tall enough. I'm just looking at the reference, so let's just go to Geometry Tool, Control Shift Alt. I always do that. Sorry. So Control Shift Alt, or you can just drag and select both, and just move it a little bit more up. And let's just build that. And here we go. Let's just select 4. Apply. Oops. 4. Apply. Here we go. Now it seems to be the right size, I think. Let's move this down. Yeah, perfect. So here we go. We got this wall now. And as you can see, we work in unlit mode, so everything you see right now, it looks kind of a little bit not as good as you would want it to look, but trust me, just wait until we're gonna put some lights in the scene and you're gonna love it. And you know, Epic's style is really like different if you played Gears of War or Unreal Tournament. So you know when you will be doing more realistic stuff or more more fantasy stuff, you'll notice that the principles are the same, just the different materials you want to apply. And in future on, we're gonna show you how to make your own materials and stuff like that. So just move this wall and just rotate it. Just create 4 walls. So let's just move it right here to the side. And this wall is going to be taller because on this wall there'll be no windows. So let's just go ahead and move it a little bit here. It doesn't don't worry about the outside of the box because you won't see it anyway. So here we go, there's our wall. Let's just select that. Click F5. Apply 4 again. Let's just move it down. Just want it to match, so all the textures will be matching each other on the will be matching each other basically, so you don't get these awkward seams on the sides. So I'll just move it down, try to get it. Um, just build that first. In Epics there was like the seam like that, but I think we should try to get it a bit better than that. So let's just move that. Forgot that this wall is going to be much taller, so just subtracted it, move it up. Something like that. Perhaps twice taller. Yeah, that will do. Maybe a bit more higher. It doesn't matter about the roof as well because we'll have the ceiling which will hide that. So, and yeah, let's just build that. Select it again, and let's just click F5. Select the simple texture 4. Let's just move it down. And because everything is in power of 2, everything's supposed to match up no matter what size we're gonna have. So in Epics, there was a seam here. I'm not sure if we want that seam or not. I don't think so. Let's just keep it like that. I think it looks much better this way. So yeah, we got this wall now. So let's just go ahead and move this wall to the other side. Now, on this wall, what we're gonna have is the angers for the plane. So it's gonna be we're gonna carve it in. So we're gonna need it a bit more wide. Not a bit actually, quite a lot more wide. And let's just build that. And there's some texture stretching on the side, but we'll always can fix that. But we'll because this won't be visible anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So let's just move that down. So we have our 3 walls now. And let's just go ahead and create the 4th wall. Now, this wall gonna have an elevator as well, so we want it just as thick. The elevator part and all the animations that the level had, like door openings and stuff like that, it's gonna be the subject for the next tutorial series. But for now, we still want to keep space there because I would want to continue building that map instead of creating one from scratch. So let's just move this down. And it doesn't matter if you made a mistake, if the wall is too thin, you can always change that. It's not a big problem. And oops, I've done a bit too much, so let's just go ahead and make it a bit more. Just keep clicking here. It's perfect size. Okay, so now we have our 4 walls, and let's continue. What I want to do now is the ceiling. So I'm just trying to find the right level for it. So let's just change that back to 248. Um, 248 by 248 and 20 or something like that, 10. So that's the ceiling. So I would want to keep it to the same size as the floor. Oops, I just made a mistake here. So 248, not 248. Yeah, and just try to get it right where it's supposed to be. As you remember, there was like the little bend on the windows. So we're gonna need to move it that in a way that it won't be straight above the wall, but we want it to be just a little bit to the left. But I will recommend you try to repeat this very same level first, but then just to get used to the tools. But what I would want you to do next is just to try to create your own levels. I'm gonna show you guys some place where you can find the good references. So just find the ceiling material. So it's MLT and this one base 03, and just apply that. Seems the right size, but I'll just go ahead and make it like 2, I think, or 4. It's a bit too big, I think. Um, nah, it's fine. That'll do. Yeah. So here we go. There's our level. Now we're gonna go ahead and make a little bit more complicated shapes that we had. There was a little bit of a little bit of a hill on the side of the walls. So just move that down. It's a bit more complex part. So select edit. Select those two here. Just change back to world. Yeah, the difference between world and local is the local will try to capture the rotation of the mesh and adjust the moving tool accordingly, but you will want to keep trying to keep stick to world all the time. It's really rare when you'll need local. Usually just when you use static meshes, definitely not with these. So let's just try to get it right where it's supposed to be. It's a bit hard because you cannot see much what you do. But when you have geometry open, you see it highlights a little bit of red, so you can see kind of where it's supposed to be. So I think that's where it's supposed to be. So let's just select these here and this one, and just move it away a little bit. Make it quite bigger. I remember it was like halfway through the wall, according to this wall. So let's just move these up a little bit. Yeah, that's right, I think, where it's supposed to be. Now let's just get it to the right place. And we don't want it to be hollow, so I'm just gonna go ahead underneath here, select this big polygon here, and just move it right down. We could have just made it a plane, but you want it to connect that way when you'll be carving. If you'll be carving anything in, it won't have any issues. So just select these here. Just a little bit minor adjustments now, just to get it right where it's supposed to be. Select this one, this one. Just try to get it as perfect as you can. It's really hard because you cannot see much what you do, but make sure it intersects with the other walls so you don't get any gaps. So just select these two here and just move them down. Yeah, so I think it's perfect now. So let's just build. And there we go. We got our side wall. I think that will do just fine. So now what we want to do is we want to create the exact same copy of that on the other side. So just go ahead and select it. Awkward to select the BSP brush now, but yeah, so let's just select that, bring it out, rotate it 180 degrees, 180, come on, yeah, here we go, and just move it back. Just try to get it as perfect as well. It's a bit moved out, so we're just gonna have to move it in the right spot now. Let's go in the top view actually, and just go ahead and try to get it matched perfectly. Here we go. Yeah, so that's done. Let's make sure that it intersects correctly. It's a bit more here, according to this wall. Here we go. And let's just build that. So here we go. We got our uh, hardest part over with now. The only thing we have left now is we have these angars for the flying machines, whatever. So let's just set the size to 512, 512, 512. I would think that will be no, that's a bit too big. So let's just go and try to eyeball it out, as I like to say. Just build first before we do anything really. And let's just go ahead and move it here. So it will be really hard to work with carving out rooms here because you cannot see what you're doing. So I'm just gonna try to get the size right first. So something like that. Gonna in the UDK ones there was like I think three garages, but we're just gonna make two bigger ones. Two on the bottom level, two on the top level. So let's just select this, click world. Oops. What am I doing? Yeah, so world, select. So again, to select, Control Shift, and just drag, and just move that down. And this perhaps is too deep, or maybe not, maybe a bit something like that. Yes, that will do. And let's just click Subtract. So it fits in all the views, I think. So yeah, let's just try it out. Let's just try it out. Let's just save before we do anything now. Let's just save because we've gone quite far now. So let's go ahead and maps. Try to save maps in the directory that the UDK provides you with. I'm gonna explain to you in future tutorials about the directories and the packages and stuff like that. So it's going to be really important in your level creation when you import your own content. But for now, since we're using UDKs, we do not need to play around with that at all. So yeah, so one here. Let's move this here. Let's carve one here. So just click subtract. Here we go. So we got these two done. I'm gonna change the material in a minute. And yeah, this one will be a bit more deeper because we're gonna have quite a big machinery going on in there. So let's just select that. It's pretty much like architecture stuff, pretty much. You know, you got your side, front, and top plan. Um, this part is I find this part the most boring one, to be honest, when you just make the walls because you don't get to, like, put anything cool inside. But it's really important to set up the volume of the level first, especially for like this. The BSP method is more for, like, for the internal scenes. But when you make external, which we're gonna make I think in the next tutorial, we're gonna make the external scene, which will be like on in nature, and instead of BSP, what we're gonna use is terrain. And I believe lots of you guys will like that. And there's two terrains in UDK. There's an old version of terrain, a new version of terrain. We're gonna just cover straight away the new version. It's really complicated, the new one is, but since there's a new one, why bother with the old one, right? So yeah, so let's just put player start here. Um, let's build first, and we need a light. Without light, you cannot play. So something's wrong with my player start. Why is it wrong? So let's just hold L, and just click somewhere, and you'll get the light out. So let's just place a light anywhere in the scene, something like that. So before, yeah, so something's really weird going on with my player start. Some reason it does not want to work. So let's just delete that. Let's create a new one. I think it messed it up. So yeah, so type in player, just drag a player start right here. Oh yeah, yeah, I think I dragged the wrong one in. So yeah, so type in player in the actor classes, and just here we go. There's a player start here. So we got our light, we got our player start, and if you'll click play now, you want to build first everything, and you want to build the lighting as well. That's why everything was pitch black. Before you start, you want to build the lighting, and it's what it does. It in games, the lights, most of the lights won't be real time. They will be just baked on top of on top of your textures. So that's what it pretty much does. If you would want to make a real time light, which we're gonna cover in future, you wouldn't have to bake, but it will drag a lot of resources from your computer. So let's just play. And here we go. There's a level. It's a bit too dark, but you can see that it looks much better already. Here's our car, just driving a hole, and we. And since we didn't set up the level boundaries, we're just gonna fall forever. Just gonna turn this off. And another thing I think I forgot is to put the materials to the rest of the scene, but we're gonna cover that in the next tutorial. Okay, thank you very much. I hope you liked this tutorial, and let's just go ahead to the next video, and where you'll find how to set up the rest of the BSP brushes and start to put in some static meshes.